All right, let's see if we can get us into the Bat Cave as is tradition. And we are live. Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome back to another edition of the Jedi Academy here on YouTube with your boy Ranger J 1999. The show where we hang out with you guys and answer all of your Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes questions. This is a Q&A show, and we are here to answer your questions that you have. And it's pretty simple in how it works. If you got a question about the game, all you got to do is put that in the chat. Make sure you put the word question for your actual question, comment, and or statement, and we will get that scooped up and give you the best answer response that we can. And by we, I mean whatever content creators can make it to this show. We always leave it open for any content creator to come on here. So currently it's just moi, but as soon as any other content creators come on and they know who they are and they'll come in when they can, you can pose any of those questions to myself or anybody else that's on the panel. It is more than welcome. And that's the way you get it. If you have a question, feel free to put those in the chat. It is very much appreciated. And it's an interactive stream. But we do this for 2 hours on Saturdays for you guys, and we're keeping it here on YouTube, even though I've gone full-time Twitch. The Jedi Academy will always be on YouTube, so it's a perfect format for what we're doing here. So I decided to leave Jedi Academy here. So get your questions in, comments, anything like that. Feel free. We'll see what content creators come in. If no content creators come in, that's fine too. I'll sit here all 2 hours and answer your questions. And other news, well, when you are watching, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, watch this all the way through. The views and the view time matters. And leave comments on the video for anything that we discuss. If you have a comment or anything, leave comments on the videos. It's appreciated as we do our thing on YouTube. All right. Anything else? Oh, think about supporting what we're doing. I will be recording the next video for the lore series, Star Wars Lore with Idiots. And that'll be out Monday for everybody that is a Patreon. If you'd like to support all the stuff that we're doing and the expansion and stuff that's going on, feel free to become a Patreon. $5 a month supports what we're doing, allows us to expand and create and do things like the podcast that we're now doing for Star Wars Lore with Idiots. It's got its own playlist on YouTube, but it also has, you can download it and listen to it at any time on Podbeam and Amazon. One day we'll get Spotify, but that'll happen when it happens. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. We'd like to support the channel, $5. You get your own VIP channel. You get all the stuff that comes with it, with being a Patreon on top of that. So think about becoming a Patreon and supporting the channel. That being said, I am recovering. I set another record yesterday for shoeies. 20 shoeies yesterday. Not to worry, I've already burned it off because that's why I work out like a monster, because my metabolism and body burning the shit off immediately. So 20 shoeies yesterday, I know. Congrats to Ram on his 3-year anniversary of streaming. I was hanging out with him most of the day yesterday, which led to a lot of shoeies. And then, of course, the Muppet Heinzie was on his channel last night, and in Muppet fashion, ended up doing a bunch of shoeies. Ridiculous. Um, it is what it is. So today for scheduling, we got the Jedi Academy. Then we'll take a break, and then I should be back tonight. We should get some D&D in on the channel, so that'll be nice. With Finn and everybody, so you can see that tonight on Twitch. That'll be on Twitch or D&D. Yes, Mike, all 20 shoeies were in the same shoe. Yes. The lovely Desi sent me a very nice Calvin Klein woman's shoe that I can now drink out of, and I did that. So anything else? No, get your questions in. And we will rock and roll. I'm just wondering why I just realized I didn't have any music in the background. Let me get that going. We'll see what people pop in. But good morning to everybody in the chat. Good morning to the engineer. Choo choo. He says, what am I early? The world is ending. Yes, it's the end of the world, and we know it. Sandflies, the best sandflies on the beach. Be in there. He be doing his thing. Ray Rock says, good morning, flashers of pickles, strokers of Wookiees, drinkers of coffee, and eaters of tacos. Yes, that describes all of us quite well. We already talked about Macro W. Huntington III from His Majesty's Secret Game. Very good. Dark Side, hello there. Hello, Dark Side. Dub Drub says, good morning, Ranger and Skiers. Good morning, Dub. Carl Kopich with a question. We'll get to that, but glad to have you here. Yeah, YouTube would decide to load. Great. If you don't mind. Asking for extraordinary here. I'm so used to doing everything on Twitch now with everything set up for me. I forget that usually don't have to do that. And that is really loud. My ears just got blown away. Okay, that's better. Even for me with the hearing loss, that's horrible. Okay, there we go. All right, we'll see what content creators in. I hope I'm in the right goddamn Zoom. Pretty sure I joined the right Zoom, yeah. I said, if no one shows up, I'll do the damn Jedi Academy and answer all your questions. I don't care, is what I do. But other than that, keep your questions coming in, keep your greetings coming in, say hi to me, say hi to all the skewers. Very much appreciated. On a Saturday morning, I hope everyone had a great week. Hope you're enjoying the weekend. I will be chilling. So, yeah. So after I get done with this, I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to go work on my last bit of notes for the lore series for tomorrow. Get ready for D&D. Yesterday was crazy. On top of all the stuff I did with the streaming, I had to move a bunch of dirt yesterday. That sucked. But I got it done. And then my PC crashed. Completely just went poo-poo. So I had to basically reset the damn thing. So a lot of my stuff has been lost to the edge of time. So yeah. All right. There's Finn, as is tradition. Yeah, Finn's always lurking. All right. Carl Kopich's question. I'm finally gearing farming Inquisitors. They're all accelerated now. I think they are. Yes, they are. Is there any priority order on who to gear relic first and second? Yeah, you want to do Ninth Sister first. You always want to do your tank. She's really important. And then I would say seventh is the next one you want to do. Some say second sister. She is a priority in the sense you do need her. If you want to do it before a ship, yes. But if you're talking for the team that you're actually going to be using to go for Great Inquisitor and stuff like that, or use ninth and seventh are your two. You want ninth super fast so she can do her thing, and you want seventh to do super fast to do her thing, and then you want ninth to be really beefy. If you're looking for how they should be modded, Carl, just go on SWGOH.gg and you can look at how I've got my Inquisitor set up. Not only do they have incredibly good mods, but they're set up for the actual Reva mission right now, and you can see the idea behind how we've got them set up. So there you go. Do you have a caution fire hazard badge on said shoe? No, we keep it clean. Yeah. Listen, man, it's a sterile thing, man. You put that much alcohol in something, it's going to be sterile. I'm not worried about anything else. The engineer, choo-choo! This question, Radis was needed Relic 9 for Profundity. You think Darth Vader will be needed Relic 9 for new capital ship? I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was, engineer. You know minimum Relic 8. But we'll see. I mean, new meta, new ship, probably for the event. You have to have certain relic levels is what they do. So wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if that's what happened. I mean, are we kidding? Who are we kidding? It most likely will be that. It could be a shock. It could just be Relic 8. But yeah, Relic 9 would seem logical on that. All right, who's joined me? Oh, it's all the Sandfly. The biggest Sandflies on the sand.
How you doing, my friend? Are you well? Hi.
As well as can be after 20 shoeies.
Yeah, quite I mean, I don't know. It's a logistical thing. It's becoming like a thing. You're going to have to order in new shoes every so often. That's going to be a hell of a tax thing. You're going to have to kind of new shoes.
I know, right?
It's a bit odd.
I'm just glad that I work out like I do, man, because it really makes a difference on being able to take that. Because if I was in bad shape, man, you imagine how awful that would be, man. I'd be crushed right now. So
people don't know the sacrifices us streamers put in. It's quite a thing. I keep myself in perfect shape. Well, not really at all, but I never sobered up, so we're fine.
That's all good.
Anyway.
I mean, it was for a good cause yesterday, right? You know, Ram. But I am, you know, people are like, well, you know, you should do this and this for shoes. Like, no, listen, I have what I have for shoeys because people want to see me doing shoeys all the time. And when I'm on Ram stream or on Heinz's stream, like, you want me to do extra shoeys? You got to pay you got to pay me to do it because I know already on top of what people will donate in those channels. Like, I'm going to end up doing a lot of shoeys, you know. And then Heinz, being the goddamn muppet that he is like, you know, he's like, he kept doubling, he kept adding a shoey. Like, we hit 50 subs. He's like, okay, next one we'll do 2. All right, we hit that, so that's 2 more. And then he's like, well, we'll do 3 on the next one. I'm like, dude, you know, I just did 8 on the goddamn Rams channel, and then we still owe 2, and you're already cashing in a bunch more. What's wrong with you? I could have killed him last night. But he always goes, oh, you don't have to do a Ranger. Like, no. Yeah, people don't want. They're saying that, you know, they want to see me drink the shoey. Come on, you know that, because I hate him more than anybody.
Loki, I love my Saturday morning stream. Like, so I do a Friday night stream, which is kind of before GAC starts, right? And you see everyone. It's like you see everyone at the start of the night. They're all doing great. They're excited, and then I go live about 12 hours later, and you get the aftermath. And there's just people passed out in the stream. Nobody's conscious. It's quite a wonderful thing. The community, I felt it more kind of last week or two. Sorry to kind of talk on, but
go for it, bro.
I really feel as though the community is in maybe its happiest kind of party space, and every single content creator out there is doing an incredible job. Infinity in chat as well.
No,
everyone
sucks.
is doing.
Don't say that. Finn sucks.
I know, no, but even Finn's presentations have been excellent, guy. But
Finn always does good he always does outstanding presentation. He still sucks.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. But every single content creator is adding into that mix, and you know, I salute them all. They're all incredible. And I think it's great to see. You know, obviously you do a bit of work with Scribe as well, and his presentation great. And I just think the whole and the Gambit guys, there's just such a beautiful mix of people who really are passionate about the game more, and a lot of the negativity, I don't want to say it. Yeah, a lot of that's maybe kind of no longer there. It's just these amazing people who love the game, who love talking about the game, and love, enjoying. Anyway.
Hey, Benny Lau says, Ni hao, Ranger. Been a long time catching you live. Yes, glad to have you here. Glad to have you here, Benny. I need to get back into my Mandarin. I've really been slacking on my Mandarin. I've really got to get back into that. But I've been yeah, I need to.
That's all I know. Well, I lived in Singapore, so no, it was really odd. Sorry, I just on here to chat. It's amazing how much you kind of in Mandarin you pick up by osmosis, and like you would kind of, I would understand like people talking too much because there was like similarity in the words. I don't know. It's weird how you're immersed in it, so you kind of learn it. It is beautiful. Anyway, sorry.
All right, glad to have you here, Benny. So let's see here. We have another question. All right, Dub Drubs. This question: our guild is about to dive into the new TB. Do you have any suggestions? Be patient and understand. You're gonna get a little bit stomped, a little bit. It's in the beginning, I don't know what GP you're at. But have reasonable expectations on that thing, right? I mean, I'm in a 500+ million guild, but even I on that thing, like we're at 36 stars. I don't have any, our expectations, we still need like 30 more million GP just to get to 37. So just, you know, slow and steady wins the race. You have to understand that in this new format, the operations and what you can deploy gets you way more stars than the combat missions. Don't get me wrong, the combat missions do come into play, especially in the later phases, because you have to average like 2 to 3 million, I think, for each person, depending on your GP to get certain star levels. There's a math to it. Don't ask me to break it down right now, but 285. Yeah, I mean, if you could get, I don't know, what's a reasonable expectation you think? They're 9 stars, maybe 9 to 15 on that through the 6 days on the new TB for 285 million GP. I mean, I'm probably going higher than normal, but you have to have
I think more. I think you'll get. I think you get to almost 14 or 15 with that amount.
Yeah, 9
I
to
think
15.
honestly, I think somewhere in that, I think you get surprisingly more than you expect. I would say just to, I mean, Range is 100% right. Eh, Deploying and getting people into the right platoons, whatever they're called, is by far more important than waves. You will, so it's almost kind of preparing your entire guild to do not wait until the last 10 minutes because you're trying to get all your waves done and you're trying to maximize waves. Ignore that. Just make sure the people that maybe might not get or might get distracted and might not deploy, make sure they deploy, even if it means they deploy in the first 10 minutes. They just stick their stuff in the platoon if they have it, and then they deploy. If they're in any doubt that they're not going to do it, I would have them do that. I think there's a lot of people, even in all the guilds, who frequently don't deploy on a day. And it's that's 9 million you're missing out. Whereas the waves are what, 200,000 each?
Yeah.
So if somebody clears 10 waves, that's 2 million. So do not, I would say underemphasize waves and overemphasize deploying, and everyone needs to set an alarm for themselves. It's the same time every day, so it doesn't switch around like the other ones. There's a bit of benefit there, but just make sure everyone deploys.
Yeah. It's just a lot of coordination. When you first get in, it's going to seem a little chaotic, especially for your officers, because if this is their first time doing it. So just be flexible and understand that they're trying to figure it out, because again, those operations, who's got what needs to go there. Hotbot has a really good tool once you get everybody's in sync. That's what I know Carthrick and our officers use now that we're in the state that we're in. And then, eventually you're going to have to start working on certain things that you don't want to do. Like I've done Bo-Katan, I've done Rolo, I've done a few characters to Relic 8 for the guild that, you know, okay characters, but, not somebody I would want to Relic 8, per se, but it's for the operations. And as you guys progress to the other levels of the operations, you're going to see those Relic 7s, 6, 7s, and 8s that you're gonna have to, someone's gonna have to bite the bullet on Ewok Scout or this or something, and so, but yeah, just, slow steady wins the race. Take your time, have reasonable expectations.
I wouldn't worry too much about the platoons at 285. I think if you're in that sort of guild, I think giving people force farms, I would just say to them, look, just farm towards your Jabba, farm towards your Inquisitors,
Yeah, that's the
because
most
these are
important
actually
thing.
good game people. So I would just say to people, look, if you give any instruction, instead of people to Relic 9 or Relic 8, something they don't want to, I would just say to them, where are you with your Jabba farm? Just have them on that where are they for if somebody wants to go for Conquest. Remember there's lots of little added routes in this new TB whereby, if you have Cal Kestis, you have your own battle. If you have whoever, you have your own battle. There's lots of little kind of sub routes that people can do. I think people enjoy it, but I wouldn't put any pressure. And I think it's certainly at 285. I don't think I would give Force Farms until 450 million,
No,
maybe GP.
but it is
That
going to,
space.
the reason I'm saying that is not to do it now, but you're going to eventually want to get past phase 2, and that's, phase 1's Relic 5, phase 2 is all the Relic 6s, and then phase 3, which is where you want to eventually get to that line, is the phase 3 with those Relic 7s. But he's right, you do your visitors are very important. Reva's outstanding, so you want to try to get her, so you guys will be working to that. Do Java first, because Java is needed in every combat mission in the middle zones, and it's an easy fight. Java wrecks, and that's an easy way. I've said this before, like if you could just do the fleets, so make sure your profundity's up and running, because you're going to need it. It's a big important ship, especially on the light side. That you can get Java mission done and your fleet battles done. That's over 1 million each time you go in there for the combat missions. And what's going on with my internet? Let me check something here. Internet's being a little diarrhea. All right, I'm gonna keep an eye on
A little
that.
bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, went a little bit poo-poo. It's been a while since I've been on the YouTubes. Not liking it. Real quick, everybody, don't go anywhere. Stay right here. You're gonna see the spinning circle, but we'll come back. If you need to refresh. I'm gonna switch internet here because this one's being a little bit grossy. All right, right, we're back. Should hopefully take care of that. I don't know what's going on with this thing. It's just, maybe it's one of those days the internet's going to be poo-poo diarrhea, although it's not being poo-poo diarrhea on the PC, which drives me absolutely bonkers. Oh, well. Okay, let's continue on. What else? 3 questions. So what Aldous is saying, if you're always drunk, you never have to worry about a hangover. That's true. And then,
100%.
but then you're a zombie. And then, you know, what's the point? Congratulations to Ray Rocks, as I just unlocked Trench with the last 5 stars in the Conquest store. Congratulations, my friend. Andrew Zarn says, big week for my account. I unlocked GMK and took my executor from 5 to 7 stars. Ooh, those are big ones. Very nice. Very nicely done, Andrew Zani. The Major. Ray Rock makes a point, says, plus having the big slug allows you to do the Smuggler's Run 2 to get those Lasting mods. Yeah, that thing is gross, man. The amount of stuff you get out of the Smuggler's Runs 2 is ridiculous for the slicing materials. So yeah. You're welcome, Dub. He says, thanks, fellas. Good job. Good info. You're welcome. That's what we're here for. Finn's off to go play Magic the Gathering stuff. Okay, enjoy that, Finn. I hope you get stomped. Dark side question. Thoughts on Darth Revan being the commander of the Leviathan over Darth Malak? I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if you look in the lore, even though it's not official lore, but I mean, Darth Revan for a time was the man until he got betrayed by Malak. So the Leviathan was a ship that, you know, they both have, you know, been in charge of. So I don't really care who it is. If it had been Malak, I'd been like, cool. If it had been Revan, which it is, cool. It's fine. It's not that big. It's no sweat off my back there, all this.
I'm not too bothered. I mean, I think I need to wait and see the full picture. I mean, we're potentially getting definitely at least 1.
2 more ships on top of the Leviathan, so we're getting 2 more ships, they said.
Probably
Leviathan.
Probably 2 more ships, yeah, at least. And I reckon those pilots we might not even have yet, or we might not have seen. Malak could be one of those, or could be, I don't know. So I think until we see, they're bound to bring a new Marquis or 2 as well as a pilot, because the Sith, normally anyone that has Sith that's played the game for a long time has a lot of relic Sith. So I reckon we're going to get a couple of Marquis. We can all speculate. Please in chat speculate who you think it'll be. We've all got our picks, but I think until we see the full picture, I think it's fine. I think there's always going to be one or two things that kind of disappear a little bit off lore, just as they're trying to kind of balance a game. And sometimes I think if they went Malgus and Malak, the requirements are getting a bit high for that fleet, especially if they then put in. So yeah, it's disappointing when they have to go away from what a lot of people say is like this would be the canon or that would be the canon. Because it does kind of shatter that glass, but they do frequently say this is a hollow table game. This is a game where these people, you know, General Grievous never met a Wampa, you know, like it's not a thing. So I think there's a little bit of license. We should cut them. They aren't writing a new film or a new Disney series, so
yeah, I don't have any problem with it. It'll be interesting.
I can see the anger. I can honestly. Okay, so for people like Dart, you know, I don't know if I can see people that do have a problem with it, and I do appreciate their space, but it doesn't bother me personally, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I would say the legend and or the canon stuff is what it is. This doesn't impact that in any way. So whoever they decide for whatever reason to go with whatever they do on their kit does not diminish the fact that these characters have their rich history in the lore and the canon. And you can go read it and look at it and understand it, and that doesn't, I don't think it takes away from that at all. So I don't really have a problem with it. I think it's just really cool that they are bringing Legends characters into a game like Star Wars Galaxy. I've always given them props for that because that's really, really awesome. And I think it's a smart move on CG's part because it gives them a more rich tapestry of resources to pull out of to create these awesome characters that for us Star Wars junkies love that kind of stuff. You know, you'll have your canon stuff that's coming in with the TV shows and things of that nature, and that's cool too. But you got all these stuff like, you know, Revan and Malak and Bastila and now Malgus, you know, I mean, officially Malgus is not canon, but it's really awesome to see him in the game because he's a fan favorite because of the Old Republic, you know. So, yeah, I really dig it. So they have to do a thing here and there for balance reasons. Yeah, but it still
Okay, I
doesn't.
think they probably did have a discussion on having two pilots of the Leviathan, but that's not something they've ever done, and it's probably something they couldn't really code in. So I'm sure they probably sat down there and going, "Hang on, we kind of want both of these, but we can't have both." So I don't know. I think, like I say, until we see what the other two are, until we see what the whole thing looks like, maybe it'll make more sense then, and
Yeah,
maybe it'll be more. Yeah.
yeah, we know the capital ship, but the other two are probably galactic chases. Huzzah! The greatest event ever. And we'll go have a bigger picture of what it's going to be. I'm pretty sure Dark Side Batsy will get a ship. Totally fine with that. And it is what it is. And for me, yeah, the Sith Empire, the only one that's not relic, it's HK-47, but I really don't do anything with HK-47. He's gear 12, and I haven't done anything with Sith Assassin. She's gear 11 just for her ship, but her ship is trash. So I haven't really done anything with her. Now with this new fleet, I will take her up, as we do, and it will probably be a requirement. So another character I got to take up, can do something with the ship, sure. I mean, I don't mind doing characters for ships. So we'll see.
New Maul is a Sith, isn't he? You wouldn't give him a ship. It'd be a bit weird having two Mauls with two identical ships or two different. I don't know. You know way more about this space than I ever know, but I don't know.
I mean, he had his own ship in Rebels, the Maul that you're talking about. Yeah, so he could have his own ship. They could bring his ship in for Maul. I mean, any Sith is open for a ship. Hell, they could bring Dooku's ship in if they wanted to. So I mean, there's a lot of routes that they can go with it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be from the Old Republic era, like Malagus's ship, the Sith Empire. So yeah, it's totally fine. Let's see here. Dark Side question. Thoughts on? Oh, we did that one. See who is there.
Karthik.
XO says Bo-Katan is a pilot. I wouldn't mind wrecking. I love Bo-Katan, and no spoilers, but Mando, man, this last episode was fucking fire. Oh my, oh so good. Overall, I'm very happy with. I mean, yeah, there's been a couple. Episode 6 was kind of like, but it did have some fire moments. But yeah, this last episode, oh my god. Oh, it was a good week to be a Star Wars fan with all the stuff between the Ahsoka trailer and everything that happened in Celebration into this last episode of The Mandalorian. Oh my god.
I've not seen it. I talked a lot about. I'm super excited about the Rey film. Is the one film I'm most excited about.
That one has the potential. I'm more excited about the Old Republic one. That if they're gonna go back to the beginning of the Jedi and get into the Jedi. Dude, oh my god, if they did the Great Schism, I'd lose my mind if they put that on film. I would lose my effing mind.
Every single one of the 3 films is going to be absolutely amazing, but I'm just I think I know that Dave Filoni he'll nail it on the Mandalorians Assemble. I think the early stuff will be incredible. I think the Rey stuff for me is the one that I'm most it'll be a character piece, hopefully. It'll be strong. It'll feel like because obviously Andor is probably my favorite so far of all the kind of stuff because it was very different and it was kind of a little bit closer and raw and it was a character piece. I really think they'll carry that across into kind of a big screen Rey character piece, and I think it'll be great. That's my most fun.
Okay. Well, see, they could do something like the new Jedi Order kind of story arc with Rey now, since they didn't really do it with. They haven't really shown Luke's new Jedi Order, but which is a huge thing in the Legends books. His quest to rebuild the Jedi Order and everything that was entwined with that. So yeah, and we've got Karthik, the Whaling Cannoneer. Har, he'd be a pirate. Hello,
What's
Karthik.
up? Hi.
Hi, Betty. What you doing?
I'm just hanging out. How's your Shui count doing? Did you break records?
Yeah, I broke another record last night, 20.
Way to go.
Yeah, I'm so proud of that. Of all the things that I've accomplished in my life, getting my degree, all the stuff in the military, the Shui number is the one that I hang my hat on the highest.
Bring me some coffee.
Yeah. Oh, the lovely Desiree. Hello, Desiree. Says good morning, skewers, in her lovely tone. It says, I'm looking forward to the Avengers style movie that ties all the shows together. Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
I mean, when they said Heir to the Empire and I saw Thrawn in the Ahsoka trailer, I screamed for minutes solid. One, for the reference, and two, just to see Thrawn finally on there. But I'm just excited for Ahsoka, man. It looks incredible to see the Phoenix, the team getting back together, and that Thrawn's back and he's going to be the main baddie, and you kind of got a sense of that through some of the stuff that you're seeing in the shows. It's really unbelievable, man. I am really excited. I'm excited to see what happens on the season finale of Mandalorian. Then we've got Visions coming out on May the 4th, which is awesome because I'm an anime junkie, as you guys all know. And then on August we've got Ahsoka, and then we'll see after that. I don't think we have any set dates. We have rough ideas of, say, like Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte, which looks phenomenal, by the way. And I think it's really awesome that Disney is, doing a story not from the good guys' perspective, but the bad guys' perspective. I think that's awesome. So I think
we got the Jedi Survivor on the 28th, which will also kind of give what CG is kind of canonizing. Well, I mean, it's certainly Jedi and Conquest do seem to kind of be part of the inverted commas canon going forward. So that'll probably toss us up a few more baddies, a few more characters, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
Well, I think they're doing a good job with integrating the High Republic into the Jedi Survivor stuff. And that's a good bridge, because I think that the problem that they've had a lot with the High Republic material is the initial wave of it, a lot of the fans rejected because of just some of the stuff they were trying to push they didn't like. And so, but the stuff that came out after, they got good authors, they got good stuff coming in. There's actually some really good stuff in there now.
Yeah, really good stuff.
None of the fans are really connecting to it because they initially rejected it. And so I think that's a large part of what Jedi Survivor is going to do, is connecting the two realms together and bringing it to a head of, and bringing some interesting things together. But it's going to end, like everything else that they've tried to do in this time frame. We have to be gone by episode 4. So there's like either everyone dies or they've gone into a hidey hole in the middle of nowhere. Like, those are the options. So I'm interested to see what the game does and see if they're going to do a third one beyond this one. So I'm excited for that.
As long as nobody spoils the end of Andor season 2 for me. I'm so excited if they'll get those plans or not. We'll never know.
Right.
I think
but it'll still be good. I love it. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, for me, like any Jedi that survived Order 66, even if they survived afterwards, they say, well, why didn't they help Luke? Well, because that was Luke's journey to redeem his father. So I don't really care that there wasn't, besides Yoda, who was part of the process of getting Luke or Leia to be the one to do the things. But,
they need to do a much better job, and they're doing this now, but they need to do a much better job of separating where the Jedi ran to, escaping the purge, because like everything we've seen up until this point, it's planets that things have happened on before, right?
Yeah. So
it doesn't make sense that why the Jedi would run to places where there's, they're not really like out of the way. It's like, it's like being a child running away from home and going to your neighbor's house.
Yeah.
Like the place you play at every day, and they're like, your parents are never going to find me here. You're full of shit. So I think when they're doing like Jedi Survivor and these other Jedi that have come, like even with Ahsoka, kind of explaining that they really went off the beaten path and hid their identities, makes a lot of things make more sense as to why it was harder to find every single Jedi. But I think with Star Wars trying to come out with more Jedi that we don't know about surviving helps sell the story, versus being like, and by the way, Plo Koon survived, and by the way, Ki-Adi-Mundi survived, and by the way, Aayla Secura survived. I'm like, no, we saw them all die.
Yeah, they died. Yeah, they didn't make it.
But I think the Inquisition period went on for a very long time. I mean, it was like 10 years of hunting, or there was like quite a distance between the fall of Darth Vader, the start of the Inquisition, and then running out of Jedi, or so there's a huge period in there where so much happened, which I think
they could get into that, but a lot of the Jedi in the Legends material, they went to the Outer Rims and in the unknown regions, because the Empire, as vast as it was, you're talking a galaxy. It ain't got that much, you know. I mean, they would find the ones that were, you know, in certain places, yeah, but a lot of them went to underground, you know. And when
Well,
someone goes underground, if they don't want to be found and they're really good at it, they ain't gonna get found, you know, unless something reveals them. No,
well,
could,
and
yeah, go
and
ahead.
at a point from like Jedi Survivor, that they kind of are selling the reason why the Empire had a more challenging time hunting them was some of the Jedi were in control of holocrons, and like Cal decided to destroy his. So they found a holocron that would seek out the Force sensitive children and could potentially be used to seek out all Force sensitives. But instead of using it to rebuild an order, he destroyed it. So that you could have things like that where the Jedi did things to make it much more difficult to track them down, where it's like you actually had to have evidence of them being places and not just like, all right, well, I've got this little device that will tell me on which planet a Force sensitive is located, and then I'll go find them.
Yeah, it's like what happened in the comics. The librarian, what's her name? You know, I mean, Kenobi and them scrambled all the basically the servers in the Jedi Temple, and then she took all the knowledge and set up another Jedi library, and then she got captured. But she knew what she was doing. She was setting things up for the next generation because she knew not all the Jedi were gonna. She knew she was toast, but she knew that that you know steps had to be taken. And you know, and not all the Jedi were involved with the Clone Wars. I mean, a lot of them were, but a lot of them, we just did an episode on the Jedi. A lot of them were diplomats and other things that did other missions throughout the galaxy, so they weren't involved with the direct fighting. You know, so yeah, the say 90% of the Jedi were wiped out. Sure, a handful, you know, small percentage survived. Yeah, absolutely. You know, with living a normal life on some outer rimmed world outside the jurisdiction, with the Empire having to deal with all the stuff it's doing, the Inquisition can search
Yeah.
all they want. I mean, so yeah.
I mean, but that was a large part of what the Clone Wars was designed to do, was to thin the ranks.
Yes.
Because it was
Absolutely.
easy to have accidents. It was easy to have them killed on the battlefield. It was easy for these things to take place. It was easy to let the Jedi's own self-sacrificing nature get them to lay down their life for the cause, you know.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things that they did throughout the entirety that dwindled the numbers down to, you know, where they had to get the bigger players out in the front lines, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why is Grandmaster Yoda leading the assault on Kashyyyk?
I love the idea of them sending an email, you know, please collect your free murder clone 2 weeks before Order 66. You know, click here. If you're a Jedi, please click here to register for your free murder clone to be sent in the post. You know, it's like, no, the Jedi are not people who, like, they would be hermity. They would be kind of a little bit distant. They would be off doing stuff. Yeah, no, it sits fine with me. I think it's always one of those things, but it sits fine with me.
What else answering this question? It seems more like out of the hundreds of Jedi, Order 66 meant kill 66 Jedi. Well, no, because they killed that just in the first opening salvo of the Jedi Temple. The Jedi Temple massacre was on top of the battlefield losses, was why it was such a heavy stroke that Palpatine did, because the vast majority of the Jedi were in those places. The other ones that either survived Order 66 or weren't involved with the fighting were the ones that went into hiding, and the smart ones really got the hell out of there. The only exceptions were like Kenobi, but Kenobi had to be on Tatooine. But Tatooine's actually controlled by the Hutts. You know, I was really surprised when the Empire came strolling in with the Inquisitors. Maybe he had some kind of bargain. But in the past, Vader and Jabba had deals where the Empire can go running around in there, because Jabba just didn't want to get involved with fighting with the Empire. Although the Hutt cartel, you know, they
Well,
own
and
their
I
own
think
parts of space.
the downside is that the canon that we have does make the Jedi Order seem very small, because we are only looking at a specific lens half the time of what's there and what's and who's a part of it. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, I mean, like, especially with what Fallen Order's been doing, like, you know, there's Jedi temples on planets scattered throughout the entire galaxy, you know.
Yeah.
And all we know for sure is that they sacked Coruscant, you know. the big one.
Speaking
But there's
of
they're all over the place.
Jedi, look at this sexy motherfucker right here. Look at this. It's Tilo Mad 92. Holy God, you're not working? What the hell?
Yeah, man, I'm not working, and you guys were talking lore, so I had to pop in.
Yeah, you got to pop in, brother.
We triggered him. We triggered him with some factual inaccuracies coming in to connect us all.
No, not even.
What's going
How
on,
you doing, my
bud?
friend?
I'm good, man. How you guys been?
Good, man. Just recovering from Friday nights with Heinzie. You know how that goes. So, yeah.
That's tough.
It's really tough. He's such a muppet, and it was so bad. He was really bad last night. He kept doing stuff. Man, TJ came on, and some of the looks on TJ's face just was priceless. Monday was really bad too. I jumped in Monday, and you know, linking IPD is not a thing for Heinzie. The TJ just sitting there with his exasperated face, just screaming like, "Why are you linking IPD with no health?" Thing IPD just immediately goes in and explodes and the link's gone. I'm like, oh my God, only Heinzie does this shit. so bad.
Right.
He was in full form last night. It was so funny, man. And just see TJ in his chair just spinning.
Why did I come?
It's like, why am I here? But we saw last night the Night Sisters, man. He's on a raid cleanup and absolutely smoked it. Marin's that made that Night Sister team pretty potent, man. Good Lord.
Yeah. Dude,
since there's no more questions, let's talk about the road ahead. I mean, pretty much the road ahead for me, I'm excited because I'm excited for the new raid. I love that we're going to ship loadouts. I love the new TB tracking material. So for the road ahead, I mean, how do you guys feeling after seeing the road ahead? We'll go with you, Tilo, first.
I'm feeling okay. I like that they did ship loadouts. That's cool. Finally, but it's a good change. And the raid thing, it's really cool seeing a little bit of what the raid's going to entail, some of the abilities and stuff. Obviously, we don't see those last two tiers, but the one concerning thing I have about that is prizes. I want to know what we're going to get.
Waiting on, yeah.
Because that's going to change my whole outlook on the raid. It's like, okay, do I have to go full throttle on it? Or can I just lay back a little bit, do the minimum, make sure the guild's good? It changes a lot once we know what it's going to be.
Well, we know that the minimum is going to be gear 10, like you can go in there and do stuff. But what does that equate to rewards, right? So, like if the higher tier stuff is where you get, say, buttloads of Kyrotex and all this other stuff, then great. But if it's not, if they try to be conservative like they have in the past with gear because they're so terrified of the gear economy, then I'm going to be disappointed. I mean, the fights will be fun and the raid will be fun, but if we're not getting the gear dressed with, which is, you brought up, Karth, before, that this is a golden opportunity for them to finally start putting this gear that we need in a place where we can get what we need and have a tool, a game function to do it. Go ahead.
My main concern is just where does the priority land, guild performance or individual performance? And I'm torn on that on both fronts, because for me, individual performance would be fantastic because I got every squad that for this raid at R5 plus. So I could be out there crushing this thing, getting fantastic scores, great loot for myself. But at the same time, I know I'm one in a few of those people who could do that. So I don't want to have the personal track be so heavy that if you can't perform, you're falling behind. But I also don't want the guild track to be so important that the other 20 people in our guild who don't have Jabba the Hutt and Tuskens and Mandalorians to post good scores with, that I'm going to gravitate or want to gravitate to a guild that has all of these things so that we can be maxing out that path. Like I get a little bit antsy on how they're going to stack the rewards, because I don't want it to be to a point where it's like, well, let's break up guilds again because you're going to want to be with players who are all playing like you. Yeah. Because otherwise, good luck getting to those R9 rewards or those full gear 12 pieces or whatever. I mean, I'm just speculating what they're going to give us, or character shards. I mean, whatever the hell the reward's going to be. I just don't want it to be so like you can't play with the guild you're in because your guild performance heavily impacts your overall rewards, and that's what my concern is, I guess, in the long run. I'm a little upset that they didn't give us any inclination for it being as close as it is to being released of what the rewards are.
Yeah.
So I'm a little upset, but they might be saving some of that stuff for May the 4th announcement. They might be doing another big post then. And I get why they want to have some hype and stuff behind it. They want to give enough out there, but man, it just sucks that there's no idea on how that reward system's going to work yet, and we're really close to it. So it's like you got a lot of people just like pumping the brakes on all the upgrade buttons they're going to press over the next month while they're waiting for, do I spend gear on Jawas, Tuscans, you know, do I shipment farm characters? What am I doing? Do I delay Cal for my raid rewards? You know, what's the decision? So anyways,
yeah, go ahead.
Two things I love. Two quality of life. Obviously the TB tracking, so we can all see if Telomad does not actually deploy in a phase. I think everyone in Death Star board designers needs to track Telomad's performance in TV. That is a thing we do. The other quality of life, airplane mode. They've actually literally added airplane mode into this, where you can go in, you can do your entire run with whichever multiplier you want. You can go, nope, I'm not posting that. You can go in with a different multiplier. You can go in with a different multiplier, go with a different strat. I presume you can obviously remod and all that jazz as well. So I think I think they've been kind of smart to kind of take away the need to have an airplane mode, kind of put that on, and that kind of, I don't know, that kind of helps out guilds and me. You're no longer going in, you like, no more blue stacks crashes. If you got a blue stacks crash, doesn't matter.
Nope.
Because I guess it doesn't post.
Yeah.
So they've kind of fixed a lot of stuff like that, which I think is so good. So I think those two quality of life updates are amazing. I love that they're bringing that. I do like the mechanic to do different things. I do concede, yes, the missing rewards and the missing weird kind of, we're not going to tell you what these things are, is a bit odd. And also they had the weird kind of, it looked to me a requirement for the different things rather than a guide. So they're requiring like R5 for like the third or fourth multiplier, then they require. So I think that's a bit kind of, I don't know why those aren't kind of guides rather than requirements, but no, I think everything I've seen so far looks amazing. It's going to be a huge puzzle. I love the way I'm going to be able to go in, and if I screw it up, I don't post it. I go back in. Go Cubs doesn't shout at me. I can do, yeah. I like it. I really like. So those bits I think are amazing, and I like the new style of it. I fully accept. I mean, let's face it. It's all about Gil Telomad, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, what else? He's got a perfect question for this. What would you rate the road ahead out of 10? We'll go around the corner here. Alice, what would you rate it? Out of all the road aheads, what would you give this one compared to the other road aheads?
Best one we've had for me in about 2 years. I would give it about a 9.
Okay, Tilo.
I say maybe a 7 or an 8 around there. Just because it didn't have, it was good. It was solid. It was like very foundational, but nothing like super exciting. When we got like the Star Killer or some of these bigger announcements, it didn't really have that big in it.
Yeah, I'm at an 8 as well, right around there for it. It was really good, but it's not at the level that you just described. What about you, Karth?
Oh, I'm going the other way. I'm like a 6.
Okay.
Like it feels like the Inquisitor road ahead from last year. It gave us a bunch of information we already knew was coming, except for the one thing that has been like asked for like 2 years. So I'm kind of like, I'm a little upset that it's like we have so much hype around a feature that should have been here a while ago. And that kind of bothers me that there's that much excitement for, you know, we're finally getting our first meal of the day on something that should have been here a long time ago, because it doesn't make sense. We already have the format for squads, but I mean, I'm glad it's here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not as pumped about that. But then the rest of the post, I mean, it's all information that we knew was coming. We have more firm dates. You know, it's just an update post. So I'm a little upset that there's just not there wasn't a breakdown of the reward path, how it's structured, what the rewards are, because that's the kind of information I need as a player to figure out which way I'm running next. And I don't like road aheads that just leave it nebulous to what I should be doing next as a player, because I don't want to give up farming for Cal or being ready for him, because that's coming out in July. We've got our guild's going to have Reva come in the end of May. We've got the new Sith fleet's gearing up. So I know a lot of people are mad panicking Sith fighter right now and getting Sith assassin at least to gear 12 and kind of shoring up their Sith Empire characters and trying to get things ready for that. So it's like, I don't like that we get this entire swath of nebulous information drop and then no specifics. So that's the part where this road ahead really kind of lets me down, is that there's just not enough to hold on. It's like grasping at a handful of sand. Yes, there's something there, but it's falling through my fingers pretty quick.
But that's the bit I liked about this one. I have the other side. I like the way that this road ahead stayed in its lane. It would be very easy for them to put some nonsense on the end about what's coming next, but in my opinion, they've been caught out with that because they've overpromised a reward by giving kind of a weird they've kind of alluded to what it might be or what it might do or how happy you'll be with something without giving you specifics. So I liked the way it stayed in its lane. They didn't kind of cheapen it at the end by saying,
by the way,
by the way, your conehead people might need a bit of, like they kept it very kind of there was no supposition in here. There was no kind of nudge, nudge, wink, wink that may or may not be true because we just change it. There was no, because you remember the one with the Inquisitors in it, promised Grand Inquisitor that didn't come for like 5 months.
Yeah.
And didn't give a time frame on it. So I really liked that this one was bounded. It didn't overstep its sort of space. It stayed in its lane, and it gave us most of the facts. And yeah, I fully said that.
Yeah.
The one bit missing, yes, was the rewards and the priority. But if they'd said to me, "You'll love the rewards," I'd be like, "I don't trust you." Unless he told us exactly the rewards.
Well, that's the route I was going for. Is like I would like a breakdown of actually. I mean, not even. I mean, yeah, an actual breakdown was what would have aimed for the rewards. This break it down for me like you do with the Galactic Challenge. This is how many points I need to score to earn the first tier crate. These are how many points I need to earn the max tier crate. These are how much we expect you to earn roughly in these tiers. And it's like, so, they have the spreadsheet somewhere of what they expect. And
they do.
I don't want it like written out per se, but I would like something to know what to run with.
That's what worries me, is that in there's something like and please don't stab me in the face, like a ship mod currency or an additional Cairo or an additional something that is the real reward. The thing everybody wants from doing this is actually something we don't know. It's a new character we've not discussed. It's a new bit of gear. It's a new thing. It's a new modifier, something. And actually explaining that needs to be done in a whole separate thing that comes in 2 weeks' time when they kind of finally wrote it out. Possibly.
My guess is they have a character as a reward, and that's why they're not releasing it yet.
Yes.
Because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. If it was just gear, why wouldn't you just lay it out and call it a day? So there is something behind that, because they need to put a carrot in the raid for people to want to play it and to play the crap out of it and to do it well. So if it's just gear like CPIT, a lot of people are going to do it. Well, see, I mean, CPIT was only good because of the R8 materials, and CPIT's going away, so that's no longer going to be an issue. And we'll have this one, and so they're going to move some of those rewards around. But since they capped out the modifiers at R8, I have a strong sneaking suspicion that we're not going beyond R9 with this raid. They could definitely do that later, because this raid structure has a opportunity to push out raids at a faster pace, and then once every 4 years. So there's a strong chance that we'll get updates to maybe the next one will drop R10 or whatever else. But the that's the only reason I can think that they've got some reason not to talk about it, and that's the only thing that makes sense is they've got some sort of character or something locked behind this raid that's a feature that they aren't ready to finalize yet, and so it needs the time to go to when the raid actually launches to be announced. So that's
or a
my
new
only...
diamond mod or something like that. A diamond mod that comes with a speed primary or something. Like it could be anything, like you say. But I agree with you. I agree. There's something there that is an odd thing, which is why they can't tell us again.
Well, the next thing I want to discuss is an odd thing that really has my ass chapped. Is the new ship is great, Malgus is great. The fact that they're both now Conquest and they are going to be needed for a capital ship really bothers me, because in the post, in the forum post, and then the other post, it said not to worry, because someone said, where can I get Malgus shards and stuff? Like, not to worry, you can go to, we're launching Malgus and Proving Grounds. I'm like, what? That's your response? Like, do you not read the forums? Do you not see the feedback that is coming back on how awful and trashy Proving Grounds? It is the worst ever, period, ever catch-up mechanic I've ever seen. I mean, we're talking about characters that are over a year old. Most of the other characters, I know these are a little bit higher level characters, but they get double dropped. They get expedited with their farm and stuff. What you've done with these characters is made it even more difficult to get, because the fights in the Proving Grounds are ridiculous. I know, because they let us bigwigs get in there and fight it by mistake. And so you're trying to tell me that you want people to try to go get Malgus in Proving Grounds and have to spend the 4,000 crystals, which is a lot of crystals, and that's your solution? I'm sure you'll do some packs and stuff, but I mean, what are you playing at here, CG? I mean, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And they really think Proving Grounds is I don't know what they think, but they're not in the same world that the rest of us are in, and it just proves to me that they are not playing this game at a certain level or understanding what's happening at a certain level, because there's no way you can, if you understood the pain that these players are having to deal with this crap. When I did the stuff for TIE Interceptor and went in there and all my GLs got destroyed at Relic 7 and 9, I'm like, how is someone at mid-tier that's just now getting into hard mode, that's trying to play catch-up, that's trying to get these characters, that wants to engage, gets in there and gets raffle stomped? What is their motivation for this? Like, I don't get it, guys, and it really bothers me now that we have a ship that needs an actual Conquest character to actually pilot the ship. I'm just like, no, this is a bad move. I don't know. That's one of my, I've got a couple other pet peeves that we're going to cover, but this one's on the top of the list, because I was just thinking about that. Like, if we want players to get to the end game faster, what the F are we doing then with this stuff? Because these characters and ships are vital to the meta. I don't see it. Maybe I have brain damage. I've had too many shoeies, but I'll open it up to the panel, but goddamn, man, what the hell is going on over there?
Go ahead,
Tilo.
Go ahead, Tilo.
My bad. No, I was gonna say I'm with you 100%. Like the price to refresh that node and Proving Grounds is way too much. They should do at least I say 500 at that, or even 1,000 if you wanted to do it like that. But I still think that's too much, because, like you said, it's a year process for it to get into Proving Grounds, and then the majority of people aren't going to be spending, so they have to save up their crystals. They're not going to have enough. It's going to still drive spending for some players, because they're like, oh, I just need maybe 30 more shards. Let me get a pack. Like this way, the way they have it set up, it's only going to catch those that are really spending a lot in the game. But those on the edge that are like, should I spend, should I not, are going to be like, absolutely not. There's no reason. I'm going to buy a pack and still not even be close, still not have the crystals to do a ton of these refreshes. So I think it defeats a lot of people. So hopefully they change that. And it just sucks that they kind of gated it behind that.
Yeah, it's really mind-numbing. Go ahead, Karth, Aldous.
Oh, see, this is where I'm going to low-key play the devil's advocate. I'm actually okay with this, but that's because I want more things to have a barrier to access, because I think that at a certain point in this game, everything should not be low-hanging fruit. There should be some challenge to get it. I agree, Proving Grounds is the worst mechanic they've ever introduced in the game to being catching up to these characters, because it is atrociously just, it's a puzzle that is like, CG's like, oh, it's easily beatable if you have this one specific team that nobody at 4 million
At
GP
high
would farm.
relics.
Yeah, that nobody would farm, right? Like, it's like, oh, you don't have this one Sith trio team at 4 million GP at R7? Come on, why wouldn't you have that team at R7 at 4 million GP? You would not be working to just straight the GLs. Come on. And I get that part of it, but like, if you want the power level of a fleet, if we're talking the fleet mastery stuff, at a certain point you need to gate somewhere to limit access out the rip to everything. And I know this is more of the whale side of me speaking on this more than the actual player, but if you let everything out the rip become accessible, then there's no reason for the people at the top to even give a care, because it's like, I'm red boxing every time and I'm getting these characters first. It's like, okay, but if we allow players that are half-assing it and getting it a year later, and then they can immediately just come through and smash out and get Darth Malgus because they didn't want him at the time, and now, oh well, he's important, let me just go do this Proving Grounds and get him in a couple of days for half the effort. I can see some of the things that will go back and forth, but the short of it is that I'm not that upset by having a double Conquest thing come together, a Conquest pilot with a Conquest ship. It's not going to bother me. If you're red boxing at, you're going to get through it. And I think a lot of it is that I think CG is more or less just incentivizing players to engage with Conquest and trying to get better performances in Conquest, which, I mean, granted, their feats need to suck less, but I think that's the push they're trying to make towards is hitting that direction. Engage with the content as it comes out. I
don't mind the new stuff, like the ship itself being gated for the level, right?
Yeah.
My thing is more of like Malgus and these other characters that people are struggling to try to get, because they're vital. Some of them, a couple like Dad Bob Buffett Trench, but these ships and Pat and some of these other characters are vital.
Well, so once they hit the 2-year mark, they go to Get 3.
I know, but Get 3, then they're making the Get 3 thing, man. It's like, okay, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah, they're not great turnarounds, but yeah, I agree. They are not making those characters more accessible by any means.
Yeah, and that's my big problem. Not the new ship or the gate that you have to spend. We already know that that's the deal, right? If you want the new shiny, and you got to go for the new shiny, right?
Well, they really need to. Like, I get why, because those characters have such large impacts on the meta for what they do, that why they do it, but. Yeah, it just kind of hurts because a lot of players will gravitate to JMK, and JMK is utter trash without Cat, utter trash. Whereas Maul is not nearly the same, or Lord Vader without Maul is not nearly the same level of garbage, because if you can take any dark side UFA in with Vader, you can still win a good portion of the same fights. Not always as clean, or you might need higher relic investment, but you can still do it. And then of course Jabba doesn't give a care because he doesn't have a Conquest lifter, and Rey Ben better, Rey without Ben still doing stuff. So it's one of those things where it's like some of these characters, I feel like if they're going to make them pivotal to certain squads, they need, like when they did Razor Crest was available, still is available everywhere. You can't sniff a node without finding Razor Crest shards somewhere. It's in every weekly shipment. It's hanging out somewhere, or every daily shipment. It's there. So I mean, I don't know why with these like pivotal characters they're so stingy. I mean, Cat should have been like at the top 4 every day for anybody who does not have Cat at 7 stars. Cat, there should be 5 Cat shards every time your daily store refreshes.
Yeah,
every time. Great. Just I don't get why they're so stingy with some of those things, but I get why they want to have a certain level of exclusivity to it. But I think after it doesn't, you're like you said, it doesn't pair with the rest of their logic. After a year with everything else double dropped, get it, go, just unlock the character, have a great time. And then the Conquest characters are like, yeah, but these ones, no, you can't have them.
Not this.
And see,
Go ahead,
that's
Tila.
it. That's exactly my point. Is I think after that year time period, especially with the way the game is moving, especially these last couple months where it's been nonstop character after character,
Yeah.
they need to like step it up and allow these people that are behind to pick it up. And I get what you're saying about like you want that exclusivity of, especially with the whales, and I agree. They should definitely have that. But at a certain point, like they should at least allow people to get it, because the way it's set up right now, somebody said it in the chat, if you have 25K, you get it in 6 months, and that's if you have 25K. You know, like it takes a while to get all those crystals. So we're talking about 2 years, maybe even 2.5 years to get some of these Conquest characters for like a normal, not like decently performing in GAC account too. And that's not getting number one in Fleet too, because it's like the average people. That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. Go ahead, Aldous.
Well, I'm going to have to jump off pretty soon. I would say that what I've noticed kind of recently, I mean, obviously I went to Star Wars Celebrations in London, and there was zero attempt for CG to get any new people into the game there. There was no presence, there wasn't a poster, there wasn't even an advert. I think they've given up with their vain attempt to claim that you can start the game today and ever be relevant. I think they're happy for people to download it and maybe give them $20 or buy a hyperdrive, but I think they fully know that those people will give up after 9 months of no progress. And I think a lot of stuff they're doing now, they've actually just accepted the fact, no, you just go to Malgus, everybody has Malgus, and I think the average GP is just moving so much higher, and I think it's splitting the game in half. And I think what was I going to say? I think, So I honestly think they've given up with their attempt to think that somebody could start the game today and be relevant. Because, you could start the game today with £1 billion, right? You still can't get the mods to beat me. You know, like, the thing is, you can get the characters, yes, you can get the shards, but you can't get the mods. So all these people, you can't get the Zetas, or you can buy a few, but you still can't buy them anywhere at the relevancy you need to buy them. The game is no longer a game where you can really buy instant success from zero. You have to have had it halfway through. So I honestly think they've given up with that attempt that I think was maybe there 2 years ago, kind of bridge the gap and make it more of a ramp. I still think they're launching stuff for the 3 million accounts, the 5 million accounts, and I think they're still making that stuff fun in that space, but I really don't think they're kind of thinking that anyone that starts today will ever be at 9 million, to be honest.
Probably not, but they have been pushing really, really heavily on like social medias and like and all like doing ads. I know they have like a Mando event that they've been pushing ads like that for crazy. I don't know if it's just my algorithm, but it seems like it's popping up.
They are definitely trying to get players to the mid game, but I think they have woefully miscalculated what the mid game is, because like BCM talks about quite a bit. He's a 7 million GP player. 2 years ago, that would have been an end game player. Now it almost kind of feels like, you know, between like 6 to 8 million, you're kind of a mid game player, because there is so much vast difference in what an account can be doing between like 5 million GP and 9 million GP. And granted, I know that number is massive, but it depends on where your focus is, because a lot of players who focus in on ships early get a massive GP bloat because ships are worth way more GP than just the straight out characters. So there's a lot of things that kind of go back and forth on that. And I think that's the downside with where Conquest was initially gated towards, having that 4 million GP lockout back when like 10 million GP was high, you know, and now it's like 10 million GP is kind of the average for a lot of more end game-esque players. I think Conquest has kind of been gravitating the difficulty to being more with those players, but not changing the entry point, which is unfortunate, because then you get players that are struggling to get through the hard mode Conquest because they can't access the the later tiers because it's just too difficult for them.
Or they can't do a lot of the feats because they don't have the right teams.
Yeah, they don't have the right team. Well, because I mean, back when we had deployable cooling systems and all the other stuff, where you could like, a 4 million GP account could just crush hard mode Conquest. It was easy at that point. When they first released Kat, or for her power level, for how easy Conquest was to unlock her and Razor Crest and everything else. Yeah, they stomped on that pretty hard. By the time we got the Dad Bod Boba Fett, we were all sucking, to get through Conquest. And they've come back a little bit on that to make it a little bit more grindy and a little less difficult. But I think they're having a hard time moderating that. And I think the other thing is that I think a lot of I think they don't want to change the entry point for Conquest hard because they feel like it's going to be much more negative impact than just letting players slog through it. And I think
I
that's
need to jump off.
All right,
Everyone have a
Alice.
good day.
Thanks for
Have a
having
good
me
day.
come
Look
by.
after yourself.
We'll
Bye,
pinch
see you
yourself,
later.
brother.
Ciao, ciao.
But that's the only thing is I think that maybe they need to shift where hard mode Conquest GP threshold starts. Then that would make things make a little bit more sense because you're making players have a little bit more tools available to them before they think they can start accessing these characters. And I think that's the problem is like when you say it's 4 million GP, but there's not a snowball chance in hell that somebody even at 7 million GP is going to be doing this effectively every single proving ground for every single character or battle they release, then you're kind of like, all right, well, if we're a little bit higher and we can kind of expect more things, or if, I don't know, maybe proving grounds had recommended teams that players could work on to unlock the character they want, then that might benefit players who are trying to catch up more. But I don't know. There's a lot of things that go back and forth on.
Darth Elder's in the chat. Darth Sign question says, my opinion on why CG didn't release the raid rewards. They want to have everyone panic once it launches. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
One of the most profitable months in SWGOH history was Sith raid launch. Thoughts? Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not worried about it. I've got the main teams that I need for this. Even my Jawa's a relic. If I need to take them a little bit higher relic, I will. But, but you damn well know they're going to try to create a panic farm. Teal, we've been down this road too many times.
So,
Yeah, and then the way I'm seeing it is I have what I'm focused on right now. That's what I'm farming. When it comes to the raid, I want to see the information first because it's like I talked about this in GAC Lab. Because what if Jawas are needed, but they're only effective at R7? Am I willing to commit to R7 Jawas?
Nope.
It's the same. It's the same thing where it happened with CPIT and DACA. It's like DACA and Zombie. Like you have to kind of see these teams and how it goes month to month because teams were popping up super quick in the beginning that died within a couple weeks, and then another team would pop up. So it's like, I don't know. I like taking this stuff a little bit slow. Obviously, you're going to need like those solid teams that are going to be good in other areas too, like the Jabba and the Hut Cartel. But it's those other off-meta teams that I'm a little bit more concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting off target. I just got Dr. Afra. She's gear 12. She's about to go to Relic. And then after that, I'm still all in on Cal Kestis. I mean, I'm waiting. Yeah. I've got him at 6 stars, but I'm waiting to see where he's going to land as his farm. Before I make the final push to get him to 7. I'm going to start working on Seer and Mare now. And all the new characters, what I do, I always go get them out of shipments because that's just the more financially responsible thing to do for these characters. But I'm staying on target. I mean, and I've got teams, I've got Hut Cartel, I've got Mandos, I've got Old Republic. I've got these teams, ready to rock and roll. The Jawa's a relic if I need them. Okay, I'll take them up. But if, as you said, until I see it, but if you think that CG's not going to make a panic farm, we've been doing this long enough to know. Varth Dater, not to be confused with his brother, his second cousins from his mother, Darth Vader, says, question, given new Sith shits, eventually Rev unlock in Cal, how high of a party should developing Tuscans be? Not for me. I mean, I know they're needed for Conquest, but there's just not a priority with all these.
The raid
teams.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not. I'm just not invested in Tuscans. I mean, of all the teams and shit we're dealing with right now, they're good. They're really good. And but I'm just no, you can't invest in everything. It
Well,
just
they they're a good one-trick pony, and they are a lot of fun. But they're not worth. I mean, again, there are so many things. Like we have another month of the raid comes out, so you guys got time to kind of start eyeballing some of the stuff. Tuscan Warrior goes farmable next week, so we'll get Seer shipments, Tuscan Warrior to farmable. Chieftain's already farmable. So you can start working on them, but man, I would not panic farm them for anything right now. It's just there is just too much in the air, and this is what CG loves to do is to get 5 balls rolling all at once and then watch the players just try to dive bomb everything. And it's just not possible. I mean, you can't do it. And honestly, since I have a strong suspicion that Tuscans won't do much of anything outside of the raid, because I mean TB they might have some things they can do, but if anybody's going to start working on a raid team, if you have Java or you're working towards Java, finish him off, get your Hut Cartel up to R7.
Yep.
And then you've got a team that does everything. Stick with that for now, and then see how much everything else needs to be. Because like I was talking with Scribe yesterday about this, is it going to be one where I need to have, if I can get like 1 or 2 teams R8'd, like if I can do Hut Cartel and like maybe Mandos,
yeah,
because I've already got heavy investment in most of those characters, maybe I can get away with 2 R8 teams and then everything else maybe like R5 or R3. Maybe I can whittle it down a little bit where I'm doing minimal investments into Jawas and Tuscans and everything else to make this function. Is that something that's feasible, or is it going to be something like to max out personal raid wards? I need to be R8 across the board on every single squad. So I think the R8 limiters are more about you need to do less on the you don't need to try as hard to min max your score, but I feel like it's not gonna be like you have to R8 everything. But we'll see what that ends up being in the long run. I'm just more or less along the lines of I would not panic farm any faction until we get the reward structure, because if it's nothing more than replacing the C-Pit rewards, I ain't gonna throw R8s down for that. Like if the only way I'm gonna invest into it is if they give you something I can't purchase in game. Like if I can go get my R8 mats in the game somewhere else still, bye, see you later. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like rewards and performance, and those things require patience because we don't have any of those yet. So it's almost a wait and see process.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at like what I've got coming up. So I've got Dr. Alfred. Just need a couple pieces of gear. She's going to be relic, and I'll be done with that team, right? Then it's Cal, but I also got Third Sister coming at the end of May, and that's 700 Chirotex and Omicrons and just
three Omicron, 3. Yeah. I mean, she doesn't need all of them, but she's 3 Zetas and at minimum, So and an Omicron.
Yeah, the one that you need. So it's like I've got all that going on. Then in the back of my mind, as we get to the 3-month mark, we're gonna have the new ships being launched. Plus, we got Conquest going on. So yeah, Tuscans, I like them. They're cool. I like what they did with them, but it's not a team that I'm going to go balls to the walls for. They're just not, And if it costs me a little bit in the raid, fine. But I've got 4 or 5 other teams that I can go in there and do some really good stuff, so I'm not worried about it. Again, you got to be selective. Again, we always talk about this is a resource management game. And depending on how much resources you have, you've got to be smart about where you direct those resources. So there you go. Darcion says, question, here's my solution to Proving Grounds. Make it easier for the free-to-play to obtain the shards, but do not allow any refreshes. Then they can still get it, but not out of the gate.
Ooh.
I don't mind crystals being associated with it, but I think your point's valid, Tilo. Go away. What I would have done is if you have Proving Grounds and you're going to make it that ridiculously hard, fine. But make it like 500 a pop, So you can spend crystals, but, you can do and unlimited. You should have unlimited attempts, unless you want to do like say 10, like you don't have for ships. You can only do 10 attempts per cycle or something like that. But at least give the players a little bit more value for their crystals, and with all the headache and heartburn and bullshit that they're going to go through trying to beat that thing, and make it way less costly than 2,200 crystals. That's just outrageous. Go ahead, Tila.
Or run it like an old school legendary event where it comes back every 3 months.
Yeah.
But have it at a lower price point and make the players choose. It's like, it's coming in 3 months, save your crystals. It's gonna stop you from farming other stuff, but it's like, if it's important to you, you're gonna get it. But it's gonna allow you to get it too. And make the fights easier too.
Yeah, it really is. Good morning, Cowboy One. Aldous he said, I need to go watch a horse race.
Got money on it.
Yes, we're still here, Desi Girl. Benny Lau says, question, for an account that has one GL and Executor, what would be the next main target? Another GL or meta fleet? If you have the Executor, I'd say GL, depending on what you're farming towards. And Job has really jumped up for me in like priorities. I still think you go for C and SLKR first, but because of the Jedi Knight Luke, thing that's blocking you from Jabba because he is a requirement for them. By that point, you could have already worked on your rebels and gotten to where you could, have the get, Wampa and Hermit Yoda and them. There's not a bad choice there. I mean, Jabba's, and plus the relic requirements in Hutt Cartel, just how good they are, and he's needed everywhere. I lean toward Jabba. JMK's not bad, but as we talked about before, you don't have Cat. He's kind of not something you want to work on. JML, yes, but I've put JMK a little bit further behind the 8-ball if you don't have Cat for GLs. But I would say, I've always said this, and I will say it to the end of time, your first 2 GLs that don't have any gates that are really awesome to get is C and SLKR. SLKR even more because he's such a great character. He gets his own fleet. The teams can be split up and they can do really good work for you. C's a little bit more longer term project. He's not as good as SLKR, but it leads you into Executor, it leads you into Bounty Hunters, it leads you into Imperial Troopers, gives you a bunch of teams and gets you the fleet as well. But both fleets are really good. The other ones are gated. But I mean, for you, Benny, I would say SLKR. And if you want, go lead into Jabba JML. What do you guys think? Without looking at it.
I mean, in about 6 months, I think Jabba's going to be the one to, besides Jedi Knight Luke, but it's kind of starting to get a little easier to catch up on that, as more than it used to be. But I think when the characters themselves get the double drops and we start heading down that road of having far greater accessibility to the Hutt Cartel faction, I think by the time that a player would get them farmed, they're not a bad option. But I still think that Slacker should be the priority farm for almost every account.
Yeah.
Because it's giving you a good fleet. It's giving you 2 good teams in each game mode with the Omicrons that they've given out to the faction, because you've got Slacker can take some characters, and then Phasma can take some characters for TW, and then Slacker can take some characters, and then you can split with the First Order TIE Fighter pilot Ami, and split teams like that. So it's giving you more options available to the player. I don't mind C as much, but C is a little not as self-contained as Slacker is. So if your goal is to do like meta fleet and a GL, then I would say like C Slacker, C Executor, and then working somewhere else. But I mean, man, what Jabba offers to this game is just mind-boggling stupid. How pivotal that character is, between the Smuggler Run Tier 2 and TB and the new raid. And I mean, there are so many reasons that if you have Jedi Knight Luke, why don't you have Jabba? That's the question. And it's kind of infuriating that they're pushing it so hard, but I mean, at least they did heavily suggest it, and at least on this time it took with a lot of players, because I know when they said Inquisitors will be needed for all these things, and people were like, screw your Inquisitors. Yeah. So at least with Hutt Cartel, people are a little bit more like, maybe we shouldn't just ignore you.
I always want to say fleet first, just because fleet is where like the meta is really. It can really just stop a lot of people, especially in the lower divisions. But I'm with you too. I think SOKR is probably the best bet. just because if he doesn't already have it, because we don't know what GL he has already, but it just can counter so many different other GLs, depending on switching the lineups and everything. And I'm all about diversity and ease of getting the character, and he's probably one of the easiest out of the GLs. So I would definitely go him, but especially if you already have 2 GLs, probably move into your fleet next, because if you get Executor and the Profundity, that's going to be hard to beat for your opponent, especially in the lower divisions.
Andrew's on a question. It seems like people really overhype SLKR. Is he losing a lot of value with the new raid coming? No more so in the Sith raid for good rewards. Says, I have JML, JMK, and C, but Job and Lord Vader all seem more enticing GLs compared to Rey or SLKR. I don't.
It's
Yeah, go ahead.
The raids are a small mechanic to be concerned about. I 100% get where people are coming from, but it's looking at the bigger picture. Jabba is a great character. 100% couldn't argue, and he will be a much more important raid character and overall vital character to the game. But his lockouts are very hard to overcome for new players. I mean, just the relic requirements out the rip for Jedi Knight Luke, the 2 TB exclusive characters that are behind him.
Yeah.
The
Get characters.
And the get characters too. I mean, it is a mountain of stuff just to unlock Luke, let alone getting to Jabba, where Slacker and C have no real lockouts. You know, there's C does have some legendary characters like Emperor Palpatine, but that's shared with Slacker, you know, but it's very small thing to worry about, comparatively speaking, to what you would need to do to unlock Luke going into Jabba. And I mean, I just think in the long run, Slacker and C are faster characters to unlock. You can still use them in the Sith raid and still do stuff with it. It's just not going to be nearly as dominant as it was.
You got to think too, as a new player, where you're at that level and what a GL means. And Slacker, why you see so many people get him is lower level. You're thinking 1-2 million GP, maybe 3. They're getting Slacker, and then it leads them to everything else. It allows them to have a GL to be more competitive in GAC, to do those lower tier raids, because they're not doing the raids in the level we're doing. So they're at the lower tier, and it allows them to go do and get more rewards to then go into some of these other characters. There is a gateway, there's a pathway of why we say these first 2, especially Slacker, is so good. And his fleet is fantastic. I mean, First Order fleet can take on a lot of shit. Some of it's more RNG than others, but if you know how to play it and it's relic, you can have good success with that fleet, especially in the early game, because it's so dominant on offense. So yeah, I don't think Slacker's lost anything. Rey, that's a different story. I mean, Rey is, she is what she is. I mean, she's the queen of D in GAC because she's such a nightmare to deal with, especially with datacons being the way they are. And Ben's made her more of a pain in the ass. But she just doesn't do much more outside of what her lane is. She's kind of like C, right? She's really good on defense, but you get outside and you use her in TB and stuff. She does good stuff. It's like, C's the same way. If you like the new TB, Rey and C are 2 characters. I'm like, I hope I can do some good stuff with them, but the way these teams are set up, it's not like Slacker or Vader or JMK or JML and Jabba. They go in there. Jabba's like easy mode in TB. I mean, you just push auto and you just go drink some coffee, But Rey, yeah, they have their lanes, but yeah, I don't think Slacker's diminished in any way. But I do think Jabba has really risen up their team.
Yeah, I think it's the raids is just like icing on the cake. Like the main thing for SLKR is the viability in GAC. You could do so much different stuff with him, and then at the same time, it's like his requirements are probably 1/3 of what Java's are, just relic levels and everything. So the faster you can farm him up, the faster you can use him. It's real nice. The same thing with Rey. I know like she's not effective in other game modes, but she's awesome in Conquest. She's awesome in GAC, and those are probably the 2 biggest forms are two biggest modes in the game. And the great thing about Rey too, it's like you could play any light side character with her.
Yeah, same with
She's not,
Slacker. Or you put
yeah,
any dark side with him.
they're
Doesn't
not
have-
gated.
Yeah.
So you have lots of flexibility there. I think they're great starting points for like new characters, and then just the ease of being able to get them too. I know you guys mentioned it, but having those gates for Java and all those other ones, that's going to slow you down. Where SLKR, Rey, you can get them really quick. You just got to commit to them.
Yeah, and again, you use that first GL you get to get more stuff to then by that point have the other characters ready to go for your next GL. And it just helps you funnel those resources. Now you've got SLKR, he's squared away, you're doing the raid, you're doing good stuff, you're getting some rewards from GAC and other things. Now you can push all those rewards toward your gear and things that you're getting from the raids and stuff toward your Hut Cartel, if that's where the direction you want to go. And I think that's a smarter play than going no GL, doing GACs and raids and not being able to do shit, and then waiting longer because you're gated behind Rolo and Hermit Yoda and Wampa to get Jedi Luke. Yeah, there is method to the madness here when we say this. Helenix is here. You just read his daily affirmation here. It says, hello everyone, work's been hell today, pun intended, so I haven't been able to watch until now. Hope everyone day is awesome. Hopefully I'll catch your break enough and a little time to chat. Heli. I'm waiting for the heli questions. Don't worry, Taylor, it'll come. Kai says, job is better than SLKR. No, if you haven't gotten SLKR yet in your later game. If your later game, like Andrew Zani was talking about the GLs, he says he's a 6.6 million player. He hasn't worried about getting SLKR, but he's got the other ones. At that point, then if you've already locked, like say you're Andrew Zani and you went a different path, you went the longer path, right? Because you could afford to or whatever, and you went and got JML and JMK, then not the point. Go get Jabba. You don't need to get SLKR. This is more of the, I spend a little bit of money and I want to have the most efficient pathway to try to get these characters in an efficient manner to make my account better. But if you're going a different route, let's say you go get, I saw an account the other day that had JMK and Lord Vader. I'm like, what do I do? Whatever the hell you want. You already unlocked the two most difficult ones to get. But at that point, I'm like, go for Jabba. Might as well. You know, you've already got a lot of the stuff there because you went the JMK Lord Vader route. Jesus Christ. Go have fun. You know, so it depends on which route you take. But, yeah, I mean, is Jabba better than SLKR? SLKR can stomp Jabba with the right team makeup. I mean, he can. But
it's Datacron. It's heavily influenced by Datacrons, though.
And everything. But yeah, I think overall, I think Jabba just so good right now in so many different ways. I put him above SLKR.
Well, it's just what he does, right? Mm-hmm. It's everything he's giving you access to and rewards, everything he's giving you. Full stop right there. It's just Jabba right now for most accounts is going to be a much better investment if you are more in the middle of the game, yes, where you have the ability to start getting you, or you have Luke or whatever else. Things are open to you to do, versus a new player starting out at 1 million GP. The odds of you getting Jabba as your first GL are heavily indicated by your credit line at the bank.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you're doing it. That's the only way you're doing it is blowing vault after vault, buying the pack drops for Wampa and Hermit Yoda and for Captain Han and for Rolo. I mean, that's the only way you're getting this character quickly. And let's not even talk about the line of Zetas that need to come with these things. Like, the thing with Slacker for a lot of it is that there is the investment levels are much lower. The bang for your buck is good. And that's what we're trying to say. Players at the beginning are not going to be able to just mass the resource. Because, I mean, with the Java team, everything's important. Every Zeta, every Omicron, you can't skip them. You know, with Slacker's Zetas are important. Everyone, and like Hux is Zeta. After that, you'll still win without them. It's better. But, I mean, you'll still win. I mean, half the fights come down to Slacker just slapping cheeks anyways. So what's it matter? So it's the investment. But if you're at 6-7 million, Yeah, if you've got Jedi Knight Luke or can get him, or you've got, some players got 200 get one currency saved up, 200,000, sorry, not 200 flat. Yeah, you go get Jabba, because if you had to choose at that point between the two, I would choose Jabba. But if we're talking about the beginning of the game, yeah, it's still Slacker. It's still the best GL to farm. It's the lowest bang. It's the lowest cost, good bang for your buck.
Right. I agree 1,000%. All right, Dark Sign question says the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi is next month. I was quite surprised we got no information on anything from CG. Does this panel think in May we'll get some announcements? I would.
Tons.
Yeah. And they're putting out I gotta say, I give them props. Those are rewards that they put in for May the 4th. It's pretty much standard, but there were some other goodies in there too. So I'm like, okay, another good May the 4th.
There's a large reason why this post was so limited.
Yeah.
They have stuff coming out. We know with a high degree of certainty that they are going to have likely a GL announcement as part of the May the 4th and the 40-year anniversary of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
We know there's a high probability that those come out together, and because the way they're setting it up. I mean, and it's set up similar to how last year went, right? We're getting a journey character at the beginning of the summer, Grand Inquisitor. We are getting a new fleet by the end of summer, Sith. We're going to probably have a GL that lands somewhere in the fall. Yeah. And that makes the most sense for a lot of people. So if that's going to be how they play it, where we are headed perfectly down for a copycat of last year. So that's exactly what's going to most likely happen, is we're going to get some announcement here in May that is, hey, here is GL Leia. She is going to require these 4 new marquees. We will let you get these marquees over the summer, and then her event will be available sometime in September, October.
Yep. And then December, we should get a legendary or something along those lines. I mean, they're being a pretty consistent cadence on this stuff, right? With the occasional additional stuff that's coming in. So I don't really have a problem with it. So next question. Carl says, question, aren't most of the requirements for Jabba not accelerated yet? How many of these characters are accelerated? None, but I think some are Cantina, right?
I mean, all but the 3 marquees are accelerated, so
yeah, I got to think there's 15 characters, so yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's and they will be. I mean, literally by the time, like I said, in 6 months, Jabba will be a much bigger farm or much faster farm for a lot of players.
Yeah,
because they can get the marquees quicker. But again, like we've beat a dead horse with so far today, the Jedi Knight Luke is your bottleneck going for Jabba. So if you can't get him quickly, it doesn't matter how fast the character shards come in. If you can't unlock Jedi Knight Luke if you can't unlock Jedi Knight Luke for 9 months, who cares if it takes you 6 months to get the character shards?
And relics too.
Yeah, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, relics, big part of that.
And it's not bad, but I think there's like 2 R8s, a couple R7s.
1 R8.
Too.
I think Han Solo's only R8, isn't Jedi Knight Luke R7?
I think he is R7. Let me see. Yeah, but it's not super bad. But when you compare it to like an SLKR or something like that, then
yeah. Jabba's overall requirements were relatively friendly, but that's because that's how much of a bottleneck Luke is.
Yeah, just Han Solo. And then for R7, it is Jedi Knight Luke, C-3PO, Fennec Shand, and Boba.
Yeah. Those are characters you want at the certain, not so much 3PO, but Fennec and oh my god.
I mean, the only other legendary character they've got behind this is C-3PO. Everything else is relatively farmable out the rip.
Yeah, and accelerated.
They damn near give you Boba Fett in the game. Mob Enforcer is not that hard to get your hands on. Fennec is now really easy to get your hands on. Aura is pretty easy. It's like, so yeah, you gotta go get some Ewoks to gear 10 to get C-3PO, but you're gonna get halfway through a decent CLS team by the time you finish this up anyways. So
yeah, Kaya says Jabba's gonna be her first GL on her alt, but that's because she's lucky to be in a guild that's getting the get and stuff that she needs. If that's a circumstance too, again, circumstances dictate what you can go for. if you can get in a great guild that'll carry you with the get and things of that nature, then by all means go get Java. But if you're a 1 million player and you're new to the game, or 2 million, and you're trying to figure out which way to go, and you're not in a guild or have that opportunity to be in a guild like that, you got to be smart about where you allocate those resources, man, and what's going to get you the most bang for your buck. So yeah. All right, so we're caught up on questions. Good stuff from the panel, and we're getting ready to wrap up. We're going for about another 15-20 minutes here. The Conquest stuff, man, it is what it is, and datacons are what they are. I'm just numb to Conquest now. I don't enjoy it. I don't find it. It's like mods for me now, Conquest. I do it not because I enjoy it, but because it's required, it's necessary. Like, I work on mods religiously, not because I enjoy working on mods. I find it boring, monotonous, and tedious. But it's like, because I need the shit out of there, and I need my mods to be good. It's the same mentality I have with Conquest. I think for the most part, the feats are fine. They just have their head up their ass about doing 40 battles. They just seem to really love that. And then I saw that 1,000 momentum one. I'm like, oh my god. 1,000 momentum. Okay, cool.
Well, in fairness, it stacks very fast.
I know, but it's in sector 3 or 4. I'm like, god damn it.
Yeah, I know, but realistically, depending on the team you fight, if you fight a team that gains a lot of turn meter, which, I mean, you just got to go team hunting a little bit, you could probably have it done in 4 or 5 battles. It's not hard. I mean, like, I have battles where I'm getting, like, I have stacks of like 100 momentum on a single character, in a couple of minutes because of how the mechanics work. So I think the biggest issue is that with the current data disk that they have set up in this one, with the amplified agony and things like that, is that, like, the reason why it'll suck with most people with Tuscans is because they'll die before you start stacking momentum.
Zealous ambition is gone.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, it's had its day in the sun. Amplified agony is just as easy of a cheese if you don't need the kills with certain characters.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just like,
well, it's the one like for Cal Kestis, you have to get kills with him, and you have to do all this other
stuff. So you take Jedi Master Luke and you just coin all day with him and Seer, and you call it a day. And they did limit the Tuscan 1 to 20, and as far as we know, nobody has to, it's not the full team surviving, so you can kind of get through with it. And the 40 battles with unaligned force users, you got like 4 teams you can throw together to make that happen. You could knock it out in a couple of days. They are at least doing stuff that's broad stroked enough that the bigger accounts are not having to suffer as much. But then again, it goes back to my point earlier. I really feel like hard mode Conquest never got its threshold shifted to when they started increasing the difficulty behind it.
There's 7 million GP accounts that can clear through Sector 5, but they're not going to be able to get higher crates because they don't have these teams and characters.
Yeah, but I mean, 4 million GP accounts might have 1 or 2 teams that can get into Sector 5.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, is just that there's such a world of difference between the two. And I think that's part of the reason why they started doing stuff like Sortie, was like, well, if you take Sortie, you can have a team that can start making progress, but then they took away Zealous Ambition, and so there's no way Sortie's recovering after that. So I don't know.
And I agree with your point on, like, they should make it a little more accessible to like those lower GPs, because and then it shouldn't be the area or the sector. Like, if you can't get through it, you can't get through it. But what they should do is allow the nodes for the datacrons to be hit, because then if they can't focus super heavily on, say, for instance, like getting the max crate, but at least they can start working on some of these datacrons, making decisions on which ones to take up, which ones not. And I know every roster is different and some have different priorities, but it may be a datacron that's game breaking for those 4 months, and that could be the difference in crystals for them that 4 months. So that's the one thing they need to really, really address. But they should keep it at 4, because as soon as they go to hard conquest, that first conquest block is better than what they're going to get in the other one, the easy mode.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think it's demoralizing for players who go into that and they can only clear Sector 1 and they can't really do much beyond that, or it takes them 3 days to have the stamina to clear through Sector 1. I think there's a large portion of where you have to accurately gauge. I mean, and they could easily just increase the rewards in normal path to be a little bit more lucrative for the players. I mean, they're already doing that with the Conquest Pass, moving up the shard rewards closer to the front so that players who are buying that but can't complete the pass are getting that 20 shards still. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's like if you want to make things, you know, more accessible to players, then elevate the rewards to the lower tiers to incentivize these players to go play something where it's not going to be so hair pulling for them. I mean, the players that are going to red box Conquest, hard mode Conquest, they don't give a care if people are going to get a little bit more rewards in the end. If you still can't, you know, get a 7-star character in normal mode after 3 conquests, then it's no different than what we're going to be facing currently. So what does it matter if you increase the shards to, let's say you get 2/3 the way there in normal mode with if you can red box there, versus what now it's like not even half. You know, it's they need to push some of those rewards back down a little bit, at least on the shard stuff, so that players can more comfortably play and unlock. So that way they're not doing what they're doing now, which is, oh my god, I would love to have the new Sith fleet. Too bad the Malgus one I couldn't get anything but the lowest crate on hard mode, and I've only got 60 shards for Malgus. You know, maybe they could have at least gotten 200 shards playing normal mode for those 3 months, and now they don't have to farm as much. I think that would be the better approach to go. Is, you know, players are gonna still feel bad about not getting, not being able to play in hard mode, but they're gonna be rewarded more for playing in a mode that is more suited for their account. And I think that's the part of the reason we should head towards, because I just think it's you get that player group that's in 4 to like 7 million that just pulls hair for 2 weeks every month because they are stressing about not having red box for that brand new character, or when meta defining stuff comes out, like the Fury is going to be, because it's leading into the next Sith fleet or the next meta fleet. So they need to kind of readjust it that way, like they've done before, where they elevated things up on the lower end to help players catch up, but not impact the higher end rewards or make it better than higher end rewards.
All right, guys, some more questions in here. What else in the 3 question? What are the best counters for Reva and GAC? I might have to face one next round. Well, Trey is number 1 on the list. Even with the change to death mark, from what I've been told, because of just the protection she recovers, it's still a really good counter to the that team. What are some other counters, you guys, for Reva?
You can do JMK with the no revive cron, but you need to drop out snips, because you don't want to be cleansing your dots or your debuffs until Reva's out. So you want to be careful with that. And you can kind of use the mechanics to benefit you, because you can put death mark on JMK and that acts as a taunt now instead of a debuff to hit. So you can kind of balance things around a little bit to not have them hit your important characters. But I mean, you can literally, with the no revive cron, you can literally go in with JMK Cat, yeet out Reva because she's gonna taunt, she can't come back, and then from there you should be able to handle the rest of it. Go kill GI next, because his cron is what's really lifting that team into oblivion right now. The fact that it can't be stunned or feared is a huge upsell. I can't believe people are overlooked that so much. Oh, it's not the cron, Reva's just super broken. She's good, don't get me wrong, but immunity to stun and fear, that's a pretty OP mechanic right now. So
and once that goes away, Malgus is going to be the ticket.
Yeah, Malgus will probably be able to counter her because the debuffs they're going to throw on him are only going to help. Even with death mark, they're only going to help. So I think Malgus will be start being a counter to her, and we'll start taking Malgus off defense to a degree if you don't have Treya, or if you want to balance Treya with something else on defense. So I think there are other options, but right now we're kind of limited because the GI cron is so powerful.
Maul's an option too. It's not the best option in the world out there, but you can get it done too. Especially if you have Watt in the lineup, put that the attack tech on Maul. You almost get that scoundrel no revive, same aspect on him. But then again, it can go sideways really quick too.
Yeah, I agree, Kaya. The no revive cron goes away, but at the same time, so does the GI cron.
Yeah.
And the GI cron is, I mean, it is so broken. The fact that every Inquisitor turn, they're dispelling all your debuffs. They have 100% potency. They're immune to fear. They're immune to stun. I mean, it's like JMK is not going to get debuffs with his tenacity up. So besides the purge that they're inflicted at the start of the battle, they're not going to do much else to JMK. So there's a lot of mechanics that slowly start coming back in the positive once this set dies away. Because yeah, it won't work as well because she can come back after this set, but it's a much more tolerable fight inside of GAC than it is currently. Yeah. So that's more or less where we're going. At the worst of it, you can probably set up a better start, but I mean, once they don't get, damage immunity out the rip for when anybody dies and their cooldowns reset and 50% turn meter, I think it'll be more tolerable. That's my opinion on it.
All right, we'll do one more question here. Question from What Else in 3. What are your thoughts on Trench, and is something missing from the team that might be coming soon? I've got Trench unlocked. He's sitting at gear 8 or 9, and it's where he's going to sit for the longest time. As I said, priorities. I mean, I think it was Sortie. I mean, I'd love to take Sortie up. It would be nice to throw her on the team, but Trench, man, we faced a guild that had a lot of trenches in it, and I wasn't impressed with him at all in TW or GAC. I just haven't been impressed. He's just, the team's okay. It's good. I think it's a good B tier team. Maybe do some A tier work, but for that amount of it reminds me of Dad Bod Boba Fett. Very niche. It can be good. It can do some stuff, but for a Conquest character of this, I do think that the team is missing some stuff. Are we going to get some stuff to make that team stronger? I don't know. They're trying to pull Watt away to that team to make it work, but even then, I'm just not impressed. Tila, what do you think about Trench?
I think he's pretty decent. I just think you need the right investment when it comes to mods. The team comp too makes a big difference. It's like if you throw, say, Droideka in the mix, it's not as effective as if you put Watt. Like you have to sacrifice, and that's the only thing that's bad about him is you have to sacrifice what we're already used to. Using Watt with SLKR, using Watt with C, that's the part that sucks. But him as a character, I think he's pretty solid. It just, you got to sacrifice things.
Yeah, he's in TW. He's doing what we expected. There's a few GLs that he's countering. We expected that to take place. The rest of this is a little bit more finesse because the team is, if you can get Watt to place the tank tech on Django, if you get that 25% chance, that team is annoying as hell. Because it starts working as intended, and it just becomes this menace to deal with B tier teams or whatever else. Because they're a hard team to outrun. There's a lot of turn meter gains. There's a lot of suppressing of your team that if you can't get in front of it, you're just gonna have a hard time with. But that's the downside, is on defense now there is no way for us to forcefully get Watt to put the tank tech on Django, and that's what's creating the problem for a lot of us. And I think Trench is going to have a lot less viability when set 6 dies, because you can't give Count Dooku the 100% turn meter out the rip. So you can't have Watt go and then immediately have Count Dooku stealth everybody, and then the only thing they can hit is Django, and they can't touch him for 2 turns because he's damage immune. Yeah. And so there's a lot of things like that kind of are going to be played back and forth. I think there are parts of Trench's kit that will be very interesting to play with later. The unique that fears when someone loses protection doesn't require a separatist team. There are parts of these kits that could be utilized elsewhere. But it's just, the downside is the AI is just not smart enough to put a team correctly on defense. It's going to be a team that is heavily going to just be used for offense when players find a counter for it. With set 6 dropping, the turn meter gains going away, you're going to be able to now mod things a little bit differently to actually perform a certain way. But like for right now in GAC, it's a decent B tier team, but what it can punch through right now is a challenge because we don't have enough experience with it, but you're giving up a lot of things to take him on offense or defense because you have 4 other teams that are calling Watt's name 90% of the time on offense. And so leaving it behind on defense is a huge gamble for a lot of players because either you're going to have to have a really shitty banner fight with C, with taking Sith to just survive it, or you're going to have to neuter Trench and put another separatist with him. So
yeah. Even with the datacron, Kai's mentioning the datacron. I mean, out of all that stuff, and this will be the last thing we talk about, the datacron set, man, those UFA datacrons, holy shit. Those things are broke, man. I mean, if you got the characters with those UFAs,
they were so smart though.
God.
They were so smart with that set. The only way you can get the UFA level 6 is the light side level 3. So you cannot have Lord Vader get the dot bonuses and support his UFA at the same time.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It sucks, but I'm actually okay with it because last thing we needed was just another Lord Vader gone to hell.
It's bad enough he's getting Hell still back, but
I like those.
Without the dodge, I'm not. I hate Hell still because it's annoying more for like Rey in this set.
Yeah,
but
because Rey doesn't need nearly as much to be potent, where Lord Vader thrived off of 300%.
Still and dodge, right? But you can still get through him with your bounty hunters. But yeah, with the UFA sets coming in, I'm like, oh my! I was looking at those like.
I don't know how I feel about Huff Steel out of Vader sometimes, because sometimes it would help me on my SOKR counter. Every other counter,
work against you, yeah.
Every other counter, Huff Steel is OP, but if they use SOKR, it's kind of sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the main thing with SOKR is the stacking protection up on the dots. So, like that's the main thing you're looking to get with Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other stat you're really looking for is protection. Like you really don't care. Hellsteel is nice because basically the only reason to run a huge Hellsteel crown on Vader is to essentially go, I don't want you to use bounty hunters to beat me. That's why I've placed this here. I want you to use Slacker. So it's just a tactical thing I think for a lot of players is that I am elevating this team up enough to where you shouldn't be using the off meta counter and you need to be using a GL so that hopefully the rest of my like Trey Ami on defense with Talon and Savage is like a damn near you gotta use a GL to counter it because it's just a super annoying team. That's a time bomb. So you're pushing players to use more. Players almost always use C to counter Malgus right now. So you're just chewing up the GL options. But I mean they severely cut back the amount of Hellsteel that we're getting. I think the max for the set is 300% now. Versus the first iteration, you could roll up to 300% on a single roll. So I mean, if you want to go spend a Datacron re-rolling for 6 hits of Hellsteel, then go nuts, man. I don't think I'm going to give a care. If you've got it, go for it, but it's still not going to stop me from using Slacker to slap you around.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be glad when the Sorticron's gone for Rey, man. That thing's been a pain in the ass to deal with, man. Jesus Christ.
Just take Jabba on offense.
Yep. That's the way to handle it. I think Ben Solos is going to be the one we use after Shorty. I don't know if we're going to use Ben's.
It's nice.
Active.
Yeah, it's nice to have. So if I get it rolled up, I will definitely put it on because that's that's a really nice Datacron set with if you get the Hellsteel and with those bonuses he does with that. It'll be nice for Rey. But yeah, those other UFA ones, I was like, ooh, my goodness gracious. Because I mean, the Geos are the Geos, and the other shit, I was like, okay, that's what it is.
Honestly, the Tuscan one is banana. If you see it, it's just stupid.
Yeah, the Tuscan one, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the Tuscan one is just out of this world. I'm staring at the level 6 and level 9 for Tuscan Warrior, and I'm like, oh, so you just wanted to just have people kick rocks? Okay, cool. Because the mechanics are so. I mean, it's the one thing with the I have a love-hate with CG on, is because they clearly put down like a particular level 6 and 9 ability that are the ideal setup. Like even with the Inquisitor one, you have that 100% potency dispel level 6, and then the Grand Inquisitor setup. This one's like if you've got when you get the one that's the giant block of text, and then you get the same one for Tusken Warrior, you're like, oh my god. But then I mean, not Sunfac, Poggle has the same thing with his, right? He's got his giant block of text for making the geos more obnoxious, and so I think there's just a bit that goes back and forth where they hand tailor some of these things. It's Trench is the same thing. He's got a perfect level 6 to pair with Trench's level 9. The UFA ones are a little bit more open ended, but I think like the Ben one is kind of like
Okay.
a red herring. It's okay for the character. I want to go look at it real fast. But
it's good. I just don't think like if you have the Shorty Cron and you're putting Shorty or Ray, I don't think it outshines that one just yet.
No, because it's a limited ability. I think the level 6 on the UFO would be the far better mechanic to chase for Ray.
Yeah.
Because when she critically hits, which her basic is the only thing that can, she's gaining turn meter. When she uses a special ability, she reducing max health. When she can gain max health off of it. So there's a lot of things that go back and forth on those things, but I think that Kron's still not going to stop S or SK from doing anything. I think that's the main thing with a lot of these counters and issues is that they don't stop. Like Sorty's stopping SK for different reasons, but I mean, I think it's just players' unwillingness to budge on what the counters they use. So many people are stuck in the rut of using SK to counter Ray that, whatever. I always just take Jabba now because it's like I face so many Afras, I'm not giving away 65 banners for free. So I'll take Jabba to offense and go smoke every single Ray team under the sun because there's nothing that stops Jabba versus Ray. Because it's like, I don't care what your comp is. I'm just going to eat the annoying character. Oh, goodbye, Cal. Goodbye, Sorty. Goodbye, Barris. Goodbye, L3. Okay, now it's just the two. It's just Ray and Ben left. Okay, we'll just attack Ray until the ult's back. Okay, now we eat Ben. Okay, kill Ray. It's like it's a mechanic that's just really easy to get around, and especially in fives. So it's like I think it's just partly some of the issues just come from people unwilling to change tactics.
I agree. All right, with that, we're going to wrap this one up because TW is launching. I got to go do some fights. I got a lot of stuff to do. I will be back tonight on Twitch if everything works out, doing some D&D, Dungeons and Dragons on Twitch. But what we like to do now is allow these fine folks to pimp their channels, and I really encourage you guys that they take the time to come here when they can and to answer your questions. So show them some love once they pimp their stuff to go to their channels, watch their videos, subscribe, follow, do all that stuff. First one is Aldous Sandfly, the greatest Sandfly ever. You can find him on Aldous Sandfly on his channel. Please go check him out on Twitch. He's a lot of fun. He's a knucklehead, but that's why we watch the knuckleheads, because they're silly. That being said, Tila Mad, you got a lot of stuff going on. You and old Calvin, awesome. What do you guys got cooking up over there on your channel and on your other stuff?
We just do the podcast. It's bi-weekly now. We do it on my Twitch channel, and I also stream it on the YouTube at the same time. So that's pretty much it for me. I haven't been really doing much, and then I'll pop in every once in a while to other people's streams.
There you go. And that's all you need to do. And then Karth, you can see here whenever he decides he's that busy doing business stuff in real life.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna try to show up more for the Wednesday stuff. Friday nights are just are a crapshoot on what's going on.
Yeah.
But I think I'll be here for the Saturday stuff if I'm in town, and then
Wednesday and Saturdays.
Wednesday.
Yeah, let's show up then.
Friday night it's just there's a lot going on, and I'm just like, I need to go hang out with my wife before she kills me.
You don't want that, yeah.
Because Friday nights can easily go from I'm gonna stream for a couple of hours to it's midnight.
For reals.
Well, because it just changed. I mean, we start with Ranger. It's like 4 or 5 o'clock my time,
Yeah.
and then we go to Ram, and then Heinze, and then
Well,
Heinze can
yeah.
drag on for hours on
Oh yeah.
end.
So we've consolidated that a little bit. So moving forward, we're going to alternate Fridays between me and Ram. So one Friday will be me, and he'll come on my channel, do GAC whatever, and then that'll be the Heinze pre-stream, and then the next week it'll be on the opposite channel. So that way there's no, multiple hopping. It's more condensed. So we'll do that. So yeah. And then you can also check out Karth on our Star Wars Lore with Idiots podcast, which I can call now podcast because of all your great support with Patreon and stuff. We're able to, it's on Amazon and it's on Podbean, so you can go check out the previous episodes. We'll record one tomorrow. So Star Wars Lore with Idiots, there is a playlist on YouTube if you want to do that, or you can go download it and listen to it when you're ready. So there you go. We got all that stuff going on. We're fully invested in Twitch. You can see me Monday through Fridays on Twitch. We have the Wednesday show, but Jedi Academy will stay on YouTube. That's the one thing. This is one show that I was like, yeah, we can keep this one on YouTube because it's just Q&A. There's none of the other stuff going on that we have with the other streams. So there you go. Anything else? I think outside of that, D&D tonight, Lore video tomorrow, and then Monday we'll start the cycle of pain and suffering again. Now next week I may miss a day of streaming one of the lunch streams because it's spring and I've got to do projects outside. So Christ. So if you see a Tired Ranger, you'll know the next day what happened. I was outside all day moving tons of bricks and bags of mulch and rocks and shit. So there you go. All right. So with that, make sure you follow these other guys. Have a great rest of your day. And with that, may the force be with you, and we'll see you when we see you. Peace out.